Hello dear students, welcome you all to the YouTube channel One Page Biology. I hope everyone is doing fine. So in today's video we are going to talk about different parts which are part of the human respiratory system. In the previous video I had explained you all about what is respiration and what are the types of respiration. If you have not watched the video, please make sure you watch that earlier video so that it will be easier for you to understand today's video. So first of all, let's understand what is exactly human respiratory system. Before that, let me tell you the page number which you need to see when I'm watching the video. So the page number is 154 and 155 of your Maharashtra textbook. Okay, dear students. So what exactly is human respiratory system? So dear students, what are the parts which are associated with the upper respiratory system? The upper respiratory system majorly includes the nostrils, the nose area, as well as the part which is inside, also known as the pharynx. After the pharynx comes the throat area. So these are the structures which are mainly involved in the upper respiratory system. I will be discussing each and every one in details. What about the lower respiratory part? The lower respiratory part is majorly something which is inside our body. So it starts with the throat, lower throat region, which includes mainly the larynx, which is also known as the voice box. Also going further ahead, there is a windpipe which is known as trachea, and the windpipe which further divide into branches which are known as bronchi, which further differentiate into bronchioles. And as we all know, at the tip of bronchioles there are sac-like structures which are known as alveoli. Also inside part of the respiratory system or inside part of the body also includes the two major lungs. Okay, so majorly the upper respiratory system includes the nose, the pharynx and the throat area, whereas the lower respiratory system includes the larynx, the trachea, that is also known as windpipe, as well as the bronchi, and finally the two major lungs which are also part of the lower respiratory system, dear students. So understanding each and every part, so starting with the nose area. Now the nose includes, dear students, the outer two openings which are known as the nostrils. We all know that nostrils are present, and through the nostrils we actually take in the air. So we breathe in and we breathe out with the help of nostrils. But the entire nasal cavity, which is also known as nasal chamber, it is divided into three major parts. What are the names of those three parts? Starting with the outer region, which is just present from where the air enters inside. That outer region is known as vestibule. Now what is the function of vestibule? The vestibule has got fine hairs which are present, and these actually protect us from the dust particles. So what happens is the hairs basically filter the dust particles. Now comes, as we go ahead, the middle part of the nasal chamber is known as the respiratory tract, or also known as the conditioner. Basically, this region includes a special kind of epithelial cells which secrete the mucus. What is the role of these epithelial cells? They mainly, as I said, secrete mucus, and mucus helps in trapping the dust particles. They help in trapping the dust particles. At the same time, the mucus also helps in making the air moist. Fine, dear students. So as we go further inside, there is a third region which is present inside the nasal chamber, which is known as the olfactory chamber. Now the olfactory chamber is mainly consisting of special kind of epithelial cells, right? These are known as mainly the sensory epithelial cells. What is their job? They help in detecting the smell, and they pass the information of, or you can say they pass the impulses of smell to the brain, and the brain will help us in detecting what kind of smell it is. Now further continuing inside, guys, the nasal chamber goes ahead into an area which is known as pharynx. Now dear students, actually when we eat the food comes from the oral cavity. At the same time the food passes for the inside, so there is a common area inside which it actually is a common area, we can say, of the nasal cavity as well as the oral cavity. Both the cavities join together or unite at a common junction. That common area is known as pharynx, and that pharynx basically continues ahead into a structure which is known as larynx. On the roof of the pharynx there is a bone, there is a hard structure which is known as palate bone. Okay, and on the lower side there is an opening which is known as glottis. Now what is the role of this opening? Dear students, the glottis is guarded by a small leaf-like structure which is known as epiglottis. Now you may wonder, so what is the role of epiglottis? Dear students, whenever we eat the food, there is a high chance that if we are not conscious enough while eating the food might enter into the windpipe, and that can even lead to blocking of windpipe. So dear students, what happens is whenever we swallow, this opening, which is basically known as glottis, is closed by a small flap-like structure called as epiglottis, which prevents the entry of food inside our windpipe. That means when we swallow, the food does not enter into windpipe, rather it enters into the food pipe. Now dear students, further continuing ahead, pharynx continues into larynx. What is larynx? Larynx is also known as voice box, and it is present in our throat area. Now what is exactly made up of? Larynx is made up of cartilage as well as membranes. Let me tell you dear students, inside the larynx there are special kind of elastic folds. So there are two elastic folds which are known as vocal cords, and it is majorly because of these vocal cords that we are able to produce the sound. So dear students, mainly when we talk, or the sound when it is generated, when the sound is produced, mainly all the muscles of our mouth, the teeth, the tongue, as well as when the air moves across these two vocal cords, there is proper sound which has been created. Further going ahead guys, basically larynx continues ahead into a long pipe-like structure which is known as windpipe, dear students. Remember, windpipe is also known as trachea. Now what it is made up of? Again, windpipe is made up of membranes, but it is supported by a cartilaginous ring-like structures. These are C-shaped rings. So the windpipe is approximately covered by 16 to 20 cartilaginous rings. What is the role of these cartilaginous rings? They help in giving support to the trachea. At the same time, they also help in ensuring that there is a smooth flow of air across the windpipe. Now this windpipe further actually differentiates into basically right bronchi and left bronchi. As we all know that the trachea, which is going to now further form the branches, and each of the branch is entering where exactly, dear students? The bronchi is entering inside our lungs. So how many lungs are present? We all know there are two lungs. That is nothing but the right lung as well as the left lung. Now inside these two lungs, the trachea will branch. One will be called as now the right bronchi, the other will be called as the left bronchi. This bronchi will further differentiate into small branches which are known as bronchioles. So in case of, dear students, bronchioles, there is primary bronchioles, secondary bronchioles as well as the tertiary bronchioles. And at the tip of these bronchioles there are sac-like structures which are known as alveoli. So remember, dear students, basically at the tip of every bronchiole there are around 10 to 12 alveoli. Right. Now dear students, talking about basically the alveoli. As I said, these are sac-like structures present at the tip of the bronchioles. And there are basically approximately, you can say that 700 millions of alveoli present totally inside our two lungs. So remember, dear students, so much of air is actually diffusing out from these alveoli. and that much amount of oxygen is actually required to sustain the daily activities of our body. Fine. At the same time, dear students, the alveoli, the inner part of the alveoli has got a special epithelium that is known as squamous epithelium. What is the role of this epithelium, guys? Please remember that squamous epithelium helps in diffusion of oxygen and where the oxygen is going. So alveoli is covered by a special kind of capillaries which are made by pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins. So when actually the oxygen diffuses, it is going to go inside the pulmonary veins and the oxygen is going to ultimately go to the heart. And that's part of pulmonary circulation, which we will be discussing when we talk about the heart. So dear students, as we said that alveoli helps in diffusion of oxygen. Now next part is mainly the lungs. So we all know that we have two lungs. One is majorly the left lung and one is the right lung. Out of which, let me tell you guys, the left lung is divided into two lobes, whereas the right lung is divided into three lobes, dear students. Okay, so can you guess, dear students, why there are only two lobes inside the left lung? Please try to find out this. This I am giving you as a question. You can answer this in the comment section. This is just try to find out on your own, dear students, that why there are only two lobes in the left lung and why there are three lobes on the right lung. If you get the right answer, please put it in the comment section. So in today's video, dear students, we have covered different parts of the human respiratory system. I hope, dear students, you have understood the various parts of the human respiratory system. Any doubts you all have, please put it in the comment section. Right? So please, if you have understood the video, like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, that is One Page Biology. I will be coming with one more video next time for you all. All the best for your preparations. Take care. Thanks a lot.